Hello, and welcome to Horror Movies and Shit. I'm your host, Jim, and with me as always is...
Mark, that's the first time I've heard the intro music.
That's because I've never done it in this suite before.
Oh, interesting. You see what Jim does for you,
Mm-hmm.
our audience.
I do. But
It's a lot of
I
work.
don't know how this is going to work, but we'll see. We'll see what it sounds like.
It was it was
Anyway,
it was very scary,
yeah. Ooh.
terrified.
It's called Weirdo or something like that. It's funny.
Oh,
So anyway, hi Mark. How's your week?
oh, hey Jim, I've
Hmm.
been living the dream.
I hate you.
So Jim, you wanted to do a very special episode.
Did we want to lead with what I wanted to talk about, or do we want to go with what you're talking about first?
No, let's say I feel that you've got a lot to say.
Okay, so I do have a bit to say. I don't know how prevalent this is going to be, and I generally don't get up on a soapbox when it comes to horror movies, or in this case, horror audiobooks. However, I had an experience this weekend, or this past week. I was listening to a book, and it was by Keith C. Blackmore, and now the title just went straight out of my head, so give me a minute, because I started listening to a book that I absolutely adore. It was called The Missing Boatman. So The Missing Boatman is essentially about it's sort of like an American God story where there's all these mythical beings that are embodied as meta-humans, right? And the boatman who ferries dead, dying people across to the other side decides he doesn't want to do this shit anymore because everybody gives him shit for it because he gets blamed for everything, right? The story in itself, I'd probably give a solid 7. The problem I had with this book, and I don't know why this was always brought up, but every time there was an emotion portrayed by one of the male characters in this book to another male character, the standard response is, "Are you gay?" And it happens a lot.
Is it supposed to be a running joke?
It didn't start as a joke. There was no comedic value any time that this was used.
But sometimes in the art of comedy is all about the repetition of said thing.
In no instance did this make me laugh. Not a single one. And you know me, Mark, I'm not generally that sensitive about this stuff, right?
Right.
But the fact, because one of their running insults is that you hit like a gay leprechaun.
Well, that's homophobic and against mythical creatures.
Right. So you have two biases there, right? So it bothered me, and this is the first time that I can think of that I've been that bothered by what most people would consider a rather innocuous statement, right? Like, I'm sure if you read it, it wouldn't bother you so much, right?
I mean, well, so obviously, we're coming from different places, right?
Right, we do.
Whatever type of minority you might be, if you're reading something specific to how you're a minority, that will affect you differently.
Correct.
Or it may, but
It may.
you're probably going to have more of a connection or feel more offense or whatever, depending on what it is.
Right, and I'm like I said, I generally consider myself not to be that sensitive about that sort of thing. But the fact that this bothered me got me thinking onto another tangent, right?
Mm-hmm.
In horror films,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of gay men do you see pictured? They are the comedic relief, which is fine. I'm okay with that one. Or they are sex crazed and they are completely psychotic. Just like Sarah Miley Cooper pointed out in her comment on the post where we asked for input, there's no solid gay male characters. You have the situations like in the first Hostel where it's just randomly thrown in that one of the characters is attracted to one of his friends while they're both having sex with women, and he can't stop staring at his friend. It makes it's not organic. And I had this hope with A Knock at the Cabin Door, because I read the book that it's based on, Cabin at the End of the World, And while I did not like the book, because to me it was just boring, it was very long. It was more of a it was more of a moral story than it was a horror story, which is what I was looking for. However, Paul Tremblay did a great job of having two normal or an entirely normal familial unit with two fathers and an adopted daughter. So I loved the way that he handled the relationships. The same thing with David Slayton. When I read his Adam Binder series, the relationships were just normal relationships. It just happened to be two men in the situation rather than a man and a woman, or as we normally see sexualized, two women. Right? You see the lesbians portrayed in horror movies, and it's always it's always hypersexualized, like it's supposed to be hot, because that's what most straight men if I'm to understand,
Well,
think is.
but okay. So on that point, yes, but I would also say that movies in general, they generally have attractive people in them,
Well, I
right?
didn't say anything about right. Well, that's true.
And whenever we talk about how again minorities might be portrayed, there's all obviously the black token character
Right.
who usually dies at the start. Da 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 da. I
Right.
mean, I think there's a lot of lazy stereotypes, and it's not even just about minorities per se.
Right.
It could be the jock character, right? A big dumb jock, or the dumb blonde. Um, and I think you know, again, you're going to be more affected by something than I would. Like for that, if they just show like some overly flamboyant gay character, and they're like, "Hello, no, no, no," like just like over the top. I
Right.
just, I just kind of roll my eyes a bit, just like really. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's what
So
you've chosen to do, but it doesn't like I'm not. It only offends me on the. Oh my god, you're so lazy to have a character like that.
right, and most of the time I'm
You
not
want a better character.
yeah, and most of the time I'm not offended by those characters. I'm okay with them. It's just that it got me thinking more on a representational standpoint. I don't see many people that I consider would reflect the person that I think I am. Where just a regular guy, I just happen to be with a man, right? So I have a challenge for you, Mark. Name me off the top of your head one movie where you see a solid gay male character. One horror movie.
So define the parameters a little bit. So
So
what do you mean? Do you mean just that they just
ju-
happen to be gay?
yes, they just happen to be gay. Not overly flamboyant, not pretending to be straight, not they're just a regular character, and part of their backstory is that they happen to be gay.
So funnily enough, and yes, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, I, and I could say, well, name, let's think, a Latino character
Right.
in,
And
in a
and
movie.
and I get that, and that's what got me thinking about this whole thing.
I will say probably off the top of my head,
Mhm.
and it's just because it was interesting because it was a kids movie, an animated kids movie. I
Mm.
Do you know which one I'm going to say?
I'm guessing you're going to talk about Paranorman.
Yes,
Yeah.
they didn't make a big deal about it.
Correct. And I appreciate that kind of representation. The fact that he just said, "Oh, you'd love my boyfriend."
Yeah.
Yep. And that's what I'm looking for, is more of that, but brought into the mainstream. So I understand that there are tons of other minorities that are underrepresented. We're starting to see more of the black horror movies coming in, like with Nope and Jordan Peele and his whole universe that he's creating, which are fantastic. I mean,
Well,
I don't particularly care for his movies, but like Nope was fantastic. I
well,
loved that movie.
so you have to look at kind of like, hey, mainstream Hollywood, because there's been amazing black cinema
Right,
in the past, right?
right,
Made, written, acted, everything.
yeah,
Just certainly, people look at the '70s and kind of the black exploitation type things, and
right.
um, we're in such a weird. And again, social media has got like so now it's like people are some people, and I'm thinking these are probably a vocal minority. They themselves are minority. where if you have a new movie and one of the characters happens to be gay, right?
Right.
So even just on that base level, now you're like, oh well, that's the woke agenda. Da, 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 da. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I mean, like for some people, I think they just want straight white people in movies.
Yeah, and that's not untrue. And that's the part that as I get older, it starts to bother me more and more.
And but they don't understand that where that came from as far as that used to be in the past, right?
Right.
For the vast majority of movies, but that's not something to look back on and miss and say, oh no, why can't we get back to those days? We
Right.
should be like, yeah, diversity is better because diversity reflects the real world, right?
Right.
So if you want a movie to feel realistic, you have to have different, whether it's people are atheists or whether they're gay or Latino or Chinese or whatever, whatever it might be.
Right.
I mean, that's just life. And especially, like, it's funny because in the US is a melting pot, right? So
Right.
we do have this
Well, actually, hang on. That is not. I. Oh my God! I heard a sociologist say that that's a problem. That phrase is a problem. She was on Oprah, and she said that you cannot call us a
on
melting pot. Yes, and this
Oprah.
was this.
Okay.
I was doing some research, right, and she had this I think it was on Oprah. It was Oprah or Sally Jesse or some show in the '80s where the sociologist said you cannot call the U.S. a melting pot because what that does is put you into the group where you want everyone to be the same. Because what happens when you melt stuff? It combines and it becomes sludge, and everything is just bland and all the same color. What you want to call the United States is a salad
No,
because
no.
you have no, listen, you have the lettuce, the tomatoes, every individual piece that retains its own identity but adds to the greater flavor of the
Sure,
entire
sure.
dish.
If you want to sit there and write like an essay about how a word should be used, but really
Right.
words are just used to represent things, right?
Right.
So I think everybody knows what a melting pot is in relation to the U.S. Is that there's lots of different people here, and that's really what it means.
Right.
Doesn't mean that we're homogenizing everybody.
Right.
In fact, I would turn around to that person and say, "Oh well, it turns all the same color." Okay, well maybe it does, but that color's not going to be white.
That's true.
So fuck that shit. On,
I
on a
don't know.
similar, on a,
I really liked that analogy though. That instead of using the term melting pot, I like the idea of describing it as a salad. I think that's really cool.
but here's the thing with language, right?
Right.
If you're trying to talk to somebody about something and you introduce, "Hey, America's like a salad, isn't it?" They're not going to know what the fuck you're talking about, and you're going to
You're
sit
right. You're
there.
right.
They're going to, but in an interesting thing, I heard. I don't know if I brought this up before. I heard. I was watching like I think it was like David Packman or something on YouTube, and he had like one of his viewers ask him, "Hey, like the term expat, right? So I used to
Mhm.
use that term about me, expat.
Okay.
So obviously that means you're expatriate from some other country, right?
Right.
But the funny thing is about that, and I think this avoids the issue that I was just talking about with this salad thing because you can just use a word that everybody knows. I've dumped using the word expat. I don't use it anymore.
Okay.
If somebody wants to talk to me, I say I'm an immigrant because expat seems to be linked, for the most part in society, to coming from some sort of other white country, specifically like the UK or
Okay.
the US. Obviously, the US is not, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
It has a different connotation in society as immigrant.
that's true.
But so language is interesting like that.
It
Yeah. Anyway,
it can
what
be.
the
It
hell
can
were we
be.
talking about?
Anyway, I digress. So what I did is I looked up some lists, right, and I tried to come up with a list of um, top gay or gay themed horror movies. So I want to know what you think if you've seen any of these. And some of these I have not seen, and they sound absolutely ridiculous. But we'll talk about them, okay? So the first one that is on this list, it's from NBC. It's called Campy Slasher Vampire Erotica Queer Horror Films. But the actual title of the list, oh, from campy slashers to vampire erotica, these are queer horror films that are frighteningly fun. That's the long-winded name of this list.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one sounds strange, but maybe interesting. It's called Titane, Titane, from
Oh,
2000.
I started watching that.
Did you?
Yeah, it's a French
It
movie.
is. Yep.
Um, uh, I, I I watched about 20 minutes of it. It was very arty.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel engaged in it. And I'm just like, I'll go see
I
some.
I agree. And just reading the description, it's supposed to be some gender bending psychopath with a dangerous attraction to motor vehicles
Yeah,
and an apathetic view on human life. It's apparently some sort of body horror, but I have not seen it, so I can't comment on the actual movie.
yeah.
The themes sound interesting.
I'd heard some good reviews, or just general good word about it.
Right.
That it's more of a kind of an extreme movie and stuff. But I don't know. After a while, I'm just like, no.
And I can understand that because it sounds like it could go either way. Either it's going to be really interesting or it's going to be so. And this is going to sound terrible, but the way I felt about the first Suspiria, the original Suspiria, it was long and boring. It was too long and too boring.
Uh, well, I mean, a movie can be boring either way. I think specifically with arty movies,
Right.
to me, they're very much. There's very little middle ground. I tend to really like them or really dislike them. So
Yeah, agreed. And that's what I mean. Like, it'll either be like Hausu, where it's absolutely batshit crazy in the best way possible, or it'll be like Suspiria, where I'm bored and I don't even want to finish it.
yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so the next one is Fear Street. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
It was a three-part, 3 movies on Netflix based
nope,
on an R.L. Stein book. And
nope.
the reason they put this on the list is because the main character is a lesbian. So it was really well done. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It's fun little YA horror slasher type show. It wasn't bad. I mean, I nothing groundbreaking, but it was fun. It was nice nostalgia and throwbacks to the 90s. Or
Right.
to actually no. Each one takes place in different decades, and there was one in the 70s, one in the 80s, and one in the 90s, I believe.
I thought those were rated R. No, you say
They
they're
might be.
adult. No.
No, well, they're based off young adult books, and I didn't think that they should have been rated R. Personally,
Mm,
it was no worse than Lock and Key on Netflix, in my opinion.
didn't see it.
So next we have The Retreat from 2021, and this is a slot.
No,
This I want to see. This is the first time that I've heard about this movie, and this I actually want to see. So it's basically a lesbian couple goes to a rural cabin to attend a destination wedding for their gay couple friends,
hmm.
and they are now hunted and tortured by a group of homophobic extremists.
I wonder if they're.
It
It's
it
probably a
looks
very subtle movie.
it looks well. I mean, it shows them carrying a baseball bat and an axe. So I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a lot like The Hunt, which I'm really hoping it is because that could be a fun movie. So next on the list we have Bit. This is a movie from 2019, and this follows a character, Laurel, who moves from Oregon to Los Angeles and winds up getting
Bit.
conscripted into a group of bloodthirsty vampires who preys on men. And the reason this is on the list is because the main actor is Nicole Maines, and that is Nicole Maines is a trans actor.
So I wonder if Hellraiser will be on this.
It is not.
Hmm.
So next we have Velvet Buzzsaw, and this is one of those arty movies that was just
Right.
so fucking boring. It was so fucking boring, and it's supposed to be a satirical horror movie. It was just obnoxious. The whole movie was obnoxious, and apparently it was meant to be that way. I did not connect with it and thought it was stupid.
Yeah. Now I've heard of it. No interest.
Yeah, it's not even worth watching. The next one is a movie I know you like,
Hmm.
The Perfection.
Oh yes.
I thought it was a really well done movie. The next movie is going to highlight my problem with the portrayal of gay men in horror movies. I mean, to a T. I could not ask for a better example of a movie that annoys the shit out of me. And this is going to make me so unpopular with gay men, and I'm sorry, but the next one is 2018's masterpiece, Killer Unicorn.
Not seen it.
So, this takes place in, actually, I don't know what year it takes place in, but it takes place in Brooklyn, New York, and this party boy, Danny, is attacked, and he winds up going in, he's like MIA for a while, and then he decides to start going out again. This movie takes place almost exclusively in gay clubs. Everyone is either in a Speedo, in a tight shirt, or nearly naked, or a drag queen. And the killer is wearing nothing but a pair of spandex shorts, a unicorn mask, and a wig. And that's every stereotype that could be thrown into a blender and just vomited on the screen, and it made me sick. It's not funny, it's not campy, it's not entertaining. It's a boring fucking movie about every stereotype around gay men that you could possibly put on paper.
So here's a quick question for you.
Sure.
Middle of it. What difference? Because so whenever you look back and we're talking about kind of like blaxploitation, et cetera,
Right.
You have movies made by minority for the same audience.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure there's horror movies that are made by gay people specifically for a gay audience.
This would be one of them.
Right, and there was what's the one like Hellbenders or something?
Hellbender, yep, and we'll get to that. That's on this list.
But does that make it better or worse if the stereotypes are just as bad?
So I would think that if somebody if somebody that is gay is making a horror movie for gay people, if they were to throw in those stereotypes, right, I would hope that it would be to either A, make them utterly ridiculous and, just make a giant joke out of them, or, make it campy and fun and just a goofy slasher, type movie, or they would be there to show everybody this is not only who we are. So, I mean, you have gay filmmakers like Clive Barker, Kevin Williamson, who created Scream, that make straight horror just fine. But then you get people from the gay community that make movies for the gay community, and they wind up like this movie.
But couldn't you just say that's being satirical, but you just didn't like it?
If that was the intent, I missed it completely. So I apologize if anybody that made this movie was listens to this podcast and brings that up. It did not connect with me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Okay.
The next movie on this list, no idea, never heard of it. It's called Thelma from 2017.
Thelma. Like Thelma and Louise?
Nah, kind of different. So this is about a girl who's raised in an ultra-Christian family in Norway. She defies her parents and attends university in Oslo, and this becomes a coming-of-age story where she realizes she's attracted to women. And it takes a dangerous turn because apparently when she is rebuked, she opens up supernatural powers. Have not heard of it. Don't know anything about it.
Well, sounds like
it could be interesting.
Norwegian movie. So.
It is, obviously. And it was submitted as Best Foreign Language Film for the 2018 Academy Awards. Interesting. Did not know about that. This next one I tried, but too much Munchausen syndrome. I think that's what it's called when you start. No, not Munchausen. Oh my God. What do they call it when you start having feelings for the person holding you captive?
Oh, it's Stockholm
syndrome. Yep. So this one is a 2017 film called B&B. And it's about... No, that's not this movie either. There's another one on this list that I was thinking about. This one's different. Sorry. Apologize. So 2017's B&B. It's about these two gay men that were refused a room at a Christian guest house. So they took the people that own the guest house to court. And they won. So they decided to book a room there and stay the weekend. What could go wrong? Sounds like it could be interesting. I have to check that one out.
Right. So that sounds like very much the kind of the social issues about
Yep.
the bakery not making a cake
Mm-hmm.
for the gay marriage and
Yep.
blah blah all that sort of stuff.
Sounds like it could be very interesting, but it also sounds like it could just be very
Well,
more of a philosophical type movie where they just talk a lot.
yeah,
But we'll see. Next up is Raw, which I have not heard about. I mean, I've heard about it, but I did not realize that there were gay themes in this one.
yeah. That's one I still have to see. I don't know why I've never gone around to it because a lot it came out to quite a lot of fanfare at the time
It
and
did. It did, but I mean, I don't know anything about it. For anybody who doesn't know about it, it's about a vegetarian that all of a sudden starts developing an appetite for human flesh
you know what?
after.
There's an animal aspect to it which maybe puts me off even though it's fake.
Right, she's a veterinarian. She's going to
uh,
school to be a veterinarian.
just
So
make
I know animals are involved at some point. Next up is a movie called Lyle. I
Lyle
don't,
Lyle Crocodile.
not quite. This is from 2014. So apparently, okay. So this is sort of like they're saying it's a Rosemary's Baby type movie. So this woman and her partner, it's a lesbian couple. Their toddler dies, and they start suspecting that their neighbors are part of a satanic cult.
Well, it's yeah, not
So
really Rosemary's Baby then.
right, oh yeah. So
Kind of reverse almost. I don't know.
this next movie is the one that I was thinking of when I was talking about Stockholm Syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So this is called Strangers by the Lake. It's a 2013 movie, and it's another issue for me. The movie is about these two guys that meet at a spot where gay men meet just to have sex, which is out in the woods by a lake in France. And this movie is so fucking boring. Ugh, I did see it, but anyway. So apparently, one of the Michelle is one of the men, and he's apparently this bad boy. But the whole movie is around whether or not Michelle is going to kill Frank, and it was just boring. And again, it's all about sex.
Right,
That's all.
and the thing is, you can have a movie where if again if you're a minority or something, and you see great representation for whoever you are, right?
Right.
But you could still think the movie sucks ass.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So the next movie is the movie you were talking about, Hellbent. So
Mhm.
that's from 2004. This movie was made for gay people by gay people. Now, I will say this. We were talking about the whole satirical part where they were trying to, stereotypes and where they can make fun of them or patronize them, about how stupid they are. This movie tried to do that. It tried. It just wasn't a great movie.
Okay,
It,
it's a
it
slasher, right?
yeah, it's not. I don't really have a whole lot to say. Yes, there's the obligatory club scenes where everybody's in their short shorts and their tight clothes and bare chested and all that stuff. The killer walks around with no shirt on through 90% of the movie. The guys are caught in compromising positions, whatever. But it tried to have fun with it. It just was not a great movie.
Right.
Um, Next up is 2003's High Tension, which we all know. There's a lot of. She was in love with her friend that she went back to stay with. So
Right.
we know it's a lesbian couple through the whole movie. I don't think we have to go through that one.
So I love aspects about that movie, but the,
No,
the
yeah,
the ending didn't make any fucking sense at all.
right, and
Yeah,
it was. I thought it was a great movie. The ending, yes, is a little stupid, but and a little bleh, but it was a good movie.
I almost feel that they tried to put in some sort of twist ending
Yep.
to separate it from intensity, right?
Yeah, agreed. So next up, Sarah Miley Cooper posted a question on one of my posts today, where she said she wants to know my favorite 80s movie, my favorite 80s horror movie with a gay character, and why. I can't say that, and it's coming up. The next movie that I'm going to discuss is my number one, Sarah. But there's no quote unquote gay character, but it is very homoerotic, unintentionally homoerotic.
Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Correct. So there is no gay character in this movie, although you have the shower scene where he's over at his best friend's house.
Well,
Like
I mean, the whole
there's
club scene with the like,
yeah.
and I'm
Oh
sorry,
right, when he right, that's true. You're right. I forgot about the club scene where
no,
he's
Jack Shoulder, sorry, was saying, oh yeah, I didn't even realize. No, no, you
yeah,
did, you
that was
did.
a leather bar. Yes. So we get it. But again, it was a lot of fun. That whole movie is fun. It's not a great movie, but it's fun. And they poke fun at a lot of stuff. Like a lot of people try to read into, oh, well, Freddy's coming out of Jesse's skin, so that means that Jesse's coming out. No, that's reading too much into this shit. But it is a lot of fun. And yes, it is very homoerotic, much like Top Gun is if we look back on it.
Never seen it.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. Next up is a movie I haven't seen, and you'll probably hate me for this. It's called The Hunger.
Oh, with David Bowie.
Yeah, and Catherine Devenot and Susan Sarandon apparently have a sex scene
It's
in
a
it.
Tony Scott movie, I think.
Is it? I've never seen it. I've heard a lot about it, but it just doesn't. It never appealed to me.
I watched it back in the 80s. I remember thinking it was all right, but it's a vampire movie. I'm not a big vampire film, and it's kind of arty.
Yeah. So next up is a movie from 1980, partially based on the serial killer from The Exorcist. Do you know what movie that is?
Oh, Cruising.
Yes. Cruising with Al Pacino, and the only reason this is on the list is because the serial killer targets gay men. And I can say with 100% honesty, I've never seen this movie.
I have, but again, it was so long and I didn't
Yeah.
remember anything about it. I actually want to rewatch that. That's a good reminder.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that again.
Right. So next up, we have a 1970s movie I've never heard of called The Vampire Lovers. And it's essentially about lesbian vampires.
Right, and that is a bit of a trope, especially
Yeah.
in foreign movies. You got like lesbian vampires.
Yeah, and this, I believe,
It's
and this was made by Hammer, of course. So,
they had like Jess Franco and stuff. Did a lot of that sort of.
right. And next, the last movie on this list is a 1948 Hitchcock film, which is a result of the Hays Code almost. So it's called Rope by 1948, which is about two quote unquote roommates in a single bedroom apartment.
Right, who bet each other that they can kill somebody and get away with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it's funny because somebody actually mentions one of the lines in the film is they talk about the living arrangement, about how there's one bedroom and how cozy it is.
That's like Bert and Ernie.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that's my soapbox for the day.
So I decided to join in
Okay.
just for fun
Sure.
and see what you think. This is Collider
Okay.
website. 10 of the best queer characters from horror movies, shows, and games.
Okay, let's go.
Let's see how many you agree with here.
Okay.
I have not watched this series. It's the Chucky series.
Okay.
Jake
So yeah,
Weaver.
yep, the main character is gay, and I will say that they have treated him very respectfully. He's not anything other than a normal teenage boy who
Mhm.
just happens to like another boy.
Right.
And I do appreciate that about the series. Not that great of a fan of the series itself because I don't know, I just never have really gotten into it, but I still watch it.
Next is one that you mentioned, Sam and Dina from Fear Street.
Yep.
Will Byers from Stranger Things.
So
Mhm.
that didn't become a character trait until season 4.
Mhm.
And I thought that it was really emotional the way they did it. Like, they never say anything, they never say it, but you can see in the character's face and his actions that it is a problem for him. So
Yes.
I like that because a lot of us went through that when we were young.
Well, especially in the 80s, right, where
Yeah.
it wasn't, there was a lot more pressure back then.
Right. Plus, I mean, you had AIDS. AIDS was, first becoming a pandemic or epidemic. What do they call it now? And, we had the Surgeon General on TV telling us how to put on condoms on bananas, all that stuff. So a lot of our sexual development was intense, and you can see that portrayed in his character. I liked the way they handled that.
Next up, Glenn slash Glenda, obviously referencing Ed Wood's movie, right?
It's a fucking doll. Can I please get a break? I had more respect for Alexis Arquette's character in Seed of Chucky than I did for Glenn and Glenda. It's a fucking doll.
But
And in the series, they split it up, so now it's two kids. They did in the movie too. At the end of the movie, it's a boy and a girl. So they split it up. So where's the diversity?
so, well, what I would say is it's one of the earliest examples that I can think of, other than, like I said, the actual Glenn or Glenda,
Right.
Ed Wood, where they have specifically like non-binary transgender character, right? Don't worry, it's a
So
doll.
yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that, but in the sense of actual representation, it's a fucking doll.
Well, plus John Waters.
Yeah, that's true.
Bless the God bless the little people. I mean,
Yeah.
what you have to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one we talked about Paranorman.
Yep.
Theo, The Haunting of Hill House.
So in the original, was it 63?
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
So in that movie, there's one dig that makes you think that Theo's a lesbian. One dig, and that's all you get from Eleanor when she's telling everybody off. In the remake, which I think was 99,
Yep.
that it was a lot more prevalent. You could see a lot more of the Theo was really interested in Eleanor.
Yeah, it was very much more overt.
Yeah, and I liked it. I thought it was much better represented in the 99 version, but I really appreciate the fact that Shirley Jackson put that into her book.
So again, it's a reflection on society, right? In the
Mm-hmm.
'60s, you're starting to get some more transgressive stuff coming in there, right?
Right.
So, and especially this was a major film at the time, but just seeing that, it's 30 years difference.
Right.
What a difference, as
Yeah.
far as people are okay to be, saying it overtly. So,
Right.
Lestat and Lewis, or is it Louis?
Louis. It's Louis.
Interview with the Vampire.
I always hated Interview with the Vampire. Always hated it because A, Lestat is psychotic, and B, Louis is a self-hating ball of tears. I hated Interview with the Vampire altogether. The movie was okay, and I thought that they did really well portraying the characters that they're given in the book,
Mm-hmm.
but the work overall is just stupid and boring.
Yeah, I don't really like vampires. So, next one we have Ellie from The Last of Us.
I really like her story arc. I think they're doing a great job of developing her from a young girl into a young lady and handling her emotional journey as she discovers what she likes.
Right, and part two fully goes into that, right?
Right.
And again, I've talked about this over and over again,
Yep.
but the writing of her and her girlfriend
Yep.
in part two, it's just again, it's you say it's sensational because it's not sensational, right?
Right.
It's outstanding because it's just something which is just normal, right?
Right.
It's not making a big deal about it or anything. So it is what it is, and it's the very interesting dynamic.
And that's what I liked about the episode where they brought that to light this season, where it's her and her friend in the mall, and it was just normal. They were just friends having a good time, and it's just blossoming from there. It's not forced. They're not thrown into a situation where they have where they have these intense feelings. It gradually develops just like any other relationship.
So I will say the number one we've already talked about Hellbent, right?
Right.
So the second from last is probably the most famous, although it's not strictly horror. Like you wouldn't put that. I mean, horror elements. But what am I talking about? What is the most culturally known movie with like a gayish character. Pretty gay.
I honestly, unless you're talking about Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh God. So, okay, yeah. I don't. I consider that a musical. I don't consider that horror at all. So
You can have a horror that's a musical.
yeah, I know, but
It's not
that is
horror.
not horror.
It's more campy.
It can't be
Well,
sci-fi.
yeah, but I mean, you could add the tagline of horror on there. I think it's fine. It's not primarily horror. It's more of
So
a comedy, right?
right, and that is why I have no issue with that movie because it is an over the top campy sci-fi movie. So I have no issue with anything in that movie.
And of course,
I
written by what's his name? Plays Riff Raff,
mm,
and
yeah,
he's obviously a gay person.
yeah. And you know what's funny? I just found out through doing research for this podcast episode. Don Mancini, the guy who wrote Child's Play, I had no idea he was gay.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did not know that. And but see,
And
doing this research and seeing, Clive Barker, obviously the in his books, it's obvious that he's gay because you can with different themes and stuff in the different worlds he creates, right? But like with Kevin Williamson, Don Mancini, I had no idea
Don
either one of them
Mancini,
are gay.
Don Mancini doesn't age either.
Really?
So here's a question before we move on to our
Sure.
next topic. Can a straight person write a gay character well?
Absolutely.
Okay, that was it.
Because it's just a character. It's just one nuance of a character. So why? I mean, they may not understand the perspective, but I guarantee they know a gay person in their life that could help them.
And this is where I kind of feel, good and bad in certain respects, right? So
Mm-hmm.
whenever you get like a Marvel movie, I love
Right.
Marvel movies, right? But you get Black Panther,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they get a black director in,
Right.
and I understand. Okay, you might have more experience or knowledge with it, but it seems like almost kind of I'm not gonna like reverse racism, right? Like, why don't you have that director direct Avengers
Right.
or Captain Marvel, right? Because Captain
Right.
Marvel has to have a woman director, right? I don't know why they do that. Just get
Right.
the best director for the job, no
Right.
matter who they are.
Right.
Like, I don't understand that.
Yep. I completely understand that. But that's like you think about like The Whale with Brendan Fraser where he's getting all these accolades, right?
Hmm.
Do you know how much shit he got online because he's not a real obese person?
Yeah, I mean, you
Like
have to,
the man's a fantastic actor. Why would it matter?
right? And yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to get into the sociology of how you're born, and
Right.
it's like nobody's born fat, right? And somebody
Right.
could say, well, it's kind of in your genes already, that or no, it's like height or whatever. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
not going to do that. I think we're going to move on to our next subject.
You've had enough of the gay jokes, right? Or the gay talk. Okay, so Mark, you had a topic you wanted to discuss for the rest of this episode. So, what did you want to talk about?
Right. So one of our prior episodes, we went over our favorite movie of a decade.
Right, we did.
So I thought it would be, just as much fun to pick a decade and just pick your favorite movie of each year in that decade. And I started with the 80s. Do you know
I hate you for this. You
you
know
know
that, right?
I started with the 80s, Jim?
Because it's going to be the hardest year
Because the
or the
19
hardest decade. I mean,
were the best years of horror.
the golden age of horror for you, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't even, there's obviously going to be a nostalgia part of
Mm-hmm.
it, but and we've discussed this before. The VHS, right, was such a
Right.
game changer, right?
Yep.
And there was so many people with so many ideas, and suddenly a way to kind of bypass the Hollywood studio thing, right?
Right.
That I just think it was just like an explosion of ideas in the 80s.
Yeah, I agree.
So I've just figured we'll go through year by year. I've picked my favorite and then some honorable mentions.
Okay.
But since I came up with it, Jim, why don't you start with 1980? What was your favorite horror movie?
I hate you for this. I really do. It was so hard for me to narrow all this shit down. You have no idea.
No, no,
so
I know. There's so
I'm
much
gonna
movies.
there is. So I'm gonna start with my honorable mentions because I have a few from 1980.
Mm-hmm.
So we have The Shining, of course, which I absolutely adore. I know a lot of people hate Kubrick's The Shining. I thought it was a great movie. I've
I, I
always loved it.
I just think it's okay.
Yeah. Then Terror Train with Jamie Lee Curtis. Not a fantastic movie, but for whatever reason has a special place in my heart. I enjoy it. I watch it every time it comes on. Mother's Day, Motel Hell,
Mm-hmm.
and another movie that I, for whatever reason, when I got old enough to learn about vampire lore and that kind of stuff, I was always fascinated by Elizabeth Bathory. So this movie always was a little interesting to me. Was Mama Dracula?
Oh, I've not seen that one.
So it's Louise Fletcher plays Mama Dracula, and she has to bathe in the blood of virgins to keep her youth.
Right. Yeah.
And it's a horror comedy.
Mm.
It's sort of like Once Bitten, where she has to have sex with a virgin to keep her youth. But my number one, my favorite pick for 1980 was Friday the 13th.
Right.
And you, sir?
I was going to say, you can't really talk too much about Friday the 13th. I mean, what's not being said about it?
Right, exactly. I mean,
Um,
you have the twist ending, you have the on screen kills. It's a fun movie all around. I think it started out campy and it just went whole hog and never tried to take itself too seriously, and that's why I like the whole series until the
so
remake.
I will do my honorable mentions, and if you've mentioned it before, I'll just skip it.
Okay,
So, John Carpenter's classic, The Fog.
okay, that's fair.
We,
That's a
we
good
talk about
movie,
the 80s, that's John Carpenter's decade for me. Dead and Buried,
which I've
written by
never seen.
Dan O'Bannon.
Hmm.
Very interesting movie. Another movie which I love. It's not horror, but I'm going to bring it up anyway because fuck you. It's Ninth Configuration.
Right.
And just as we were talking about, can a straight person write a good gay character? Blatty famously very, very right wing, hardcore Catholic.
Did not know that about him, but
Oh
okay.
yeah, extremely, extremely. Like not in the sort of like nasty way.
Right.
Like, that's probably going to offend some people, but you know what I mean. He's very into it, like very, very into it.
Yeah.
But what I will say for him, um, he wrote great dialogue for atheist characters who are just questioning. Right, I don't believe this. Right,
Okay.
I don't believe it. Right, and that's what this whole movie is about.
Okay.
It's about how Kane is trying to convince Scott Wilson's character that there is good in the world, and the good in the world is basically saying, "Well, there's God, right? Whatever." I
Okay.
don't agree with the end conclusion, but like Scott Wilson is just sitting there, like, I don't believe any of this shit.
Right.
I was, the classic, another, talk about Friday the 13th, Tom Savini's Maniac. Well, it's not Tom
Okay.
Savini's, right? But obviously he is. Special effects are in full force here.
Right.
A movie I know you love because I know you think the actor has got a tremendous range,
Oh, don't you? You're gonna. Oh, I hate you for this.
and that is The Changeling.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Alligator, which I love.
Yeah. I knew you were gonna put that one on there.
So my number one movie of 1980s is the pinnacle of a subgenre.
Okay.
It is
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it is Italian,
Yep.
and it is Cannibal Holocaust, a
Yep.
movie which still is disturbing to watch, and I think for most casual horror fans, they would be put off.
Agreed.
Now talking about like I do not agree with the animal stuff in it. I can only watch it. They had a grindhouse releasing of it where the had an edit with those parts removed. And
Right.
that's the only version I watch. And people go, oh well, do you eat meat and stuff? It's hypocritical. Okay, it is to a certain extent. I don't- uh, but I don't see that as entertainment. But I kind of understood why he did it. And most of the cast ended up hating him. But I met Diodato back at Spooky Empire and a couple of cast members, and then he passed away recently. Anyway, so this is really like if you're talking about like the and a lot of Italian cinema, certainly during the '80s, were kind of just copying Hollywood.
Right.
Like the cannibal subgenre is really the Italians, right?
Right.
And it's the best of the best, and again, it heavily influenced future movies like Blair Witch Project, etc. So
Hmm.
that was my 1980 pick.
Okay. I'm good with any of those. I don't have any arguments for those except for the Changeling.
Or Cannibal Holocaust. You haven't watched
I
it.
I have not. No, that's never been a movie that's intrigued me at all.
It's an excellent movie.
I don't disagree with you, and it's just
You,
not a movie I'm going to be comfortable watching, so I'm not going to.
you might you might not even be able to get around kind of. Although it's a great movie, it's still got some of the like Italian American issues with some of the script writing and how the actors say things and whatever. Anyway, 1981.
In 1981, I was looking at this list, and I swear to God, Mark, there's
Mm-hmm.
a horror movie on here called Porno Holocaust.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's
It's in,
not Jess Franco. It's the other. It's
it's Joe D'Amato and Bruno
Joe
Mattei.
D'Amato. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I'm like, what the hell? But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so let's get started on my honorable mentions. We have Ghost Story, fantastic movie.
Oh, hang on. Before I made a post on our Facebook group
Sure,
saying that I think one year in 1980 was the greatest year of horror.
you did. I thought we were going to save that for the end.
Right? Can you guess before the end?
I'm going to go with 81.
Okay, we'll see.
Yep, we'll
Okay,
see.
so 81. Go ahead.
There's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. It's because one of your favorite movies came out that year.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, back on to 81 for me. We have Ghost Story,
Mm-hmm.
which is a phenomenal. I love the book. The movie was done really, really well. I thought it was a good all around. The Pit with Stephen Dorff. Happy Birthday to Me. The Howling. Halloween 2. But my number one, oh, Friday the 13th Part 2. Our first shot at Jason comes out this year too. But my number one for this year was The Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm. Absolute classic.
Yep,
Evil Dead was on my honorable mentions.
of course it is.
So again, I'm a big slasher fan, but there is a number of slashers that came out in '81 which I really like.
Yeah.
My Bloody Valentine,
Oh yes, yes, I did miss that one, didn't I?
The Burning,
Never saw it.
which is better than most of the Friday the 13th movies. Again, another Tom Savini gore fest.
Oh, nice. I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, it has oh god, what do you call him from Seinfeld in it? In like his first, there's a whole bunch of like
Jason Alexander.
yeah, there was a whole bunch of like first time actors that went on to do like major things. Holly Hunter's in it too, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Oh, definitely worth. Like you like slashers,
I do.
you should definitely watch The Burning. The Burning is great.
I'll have to check that out.
Made for TV movie, which I think is probably, I think, definitely up there. Dark Knight of the Scarecrow.
Oh yes, that was pretty good.
Yeah, love that
That was
movie.
pretty good.
More Savini stuff and another slasher, The Prowler.
Okay. Again, one I haven't seen.
Yeah, definitely check that one out too. That's excellent. You mentioned The Howling. David Cronenberg's Scanners.
Yep.
And Lucio Fulci released what I think is his best movie, The Beyond.
Okay, and that one I haven't seen.
Yeah. So my number one pick,
Mm-hmm.
American Werewolf in London.
No surprise.
Yep.
No surprises there. Okay.
Looking, as I was kind of like researching, what came out this year, it's like, really, did American Werewolf in London come out in 1981?
It
It's like,
did.
it seems so long
it
ago. It's crazy.
is. It is. It's nuts because we're
Okay.
sold. But that's like I didn't realize Jaws 3D came out in '83. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that was. Um,
So long ago.
yeah, no kidding. I thought it was a lot. I thought it was older than that. If I'm being honest, I really did. I thought it came out like '86, but it wasn't. Okay, so we're on to '82, right?
Yep.
Okay. I still hate you for this. Obviously, I'm going to say Poltergeist
Right.
because it's fantastic. Night of the Demon,
Mm-hmm.
Halloween 3,
Yep.
The Beast Within, a made-for-TV movie, Don't Go to Sleep. You know that one?
No, not seen that.
So it has what's her name? Valerie. Oh my god.
Valerie. Oh my God, that's a weird last name.
Yeah, I know. Hang on. I got to look this up now
Do, 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 do,
because
do.
it has a bunch of TV actors. Valerie Harper, Dennis Weaver, Oliver Robbins is in it.
Mm.
Ruth Gordon, and it's essentially about this family, and they have a car accident, and
Mm-hmm.
the two younger children have played a joke on the older daughter and tied her shoes together so she can't she can't walk with her shoes. And they get into a car accident. The car catches on fire. Everybody gets out, but the sister because her shoes are tied together, and she dies.
Pretty funny prank.
Yeah, pretty funny prank, right? So the they move into a new house. They're doing this whole new fresh start thing, and now the daughter's spirit has come back for revenge. So it was done really well, and it was pretty. I mean, I thought it was pretty intense for a made-for-TV movie.
Okay.
Um, then my number one is a movie that I have so much love for, and I have no idea why. One Dark Night.
I thought you said your number one was Poltergeist.
I did not say that my number one was Poltergeist.
Uh, One
It,
Dark Night.
yeah, I don't know why I love that movie so much. It's
Uh,
terrible.
I know why you like it. Nostalgia.
No, I've loved it from the day I saw it. It's
Right.
not, and I don't know why. Like even when I was younger and I saw it for the first time, I still am in love with it. And I think, if I'm being honest, I think it was the special effects when the quote unquote psychic that's trying to drain the life force, the all the electricity and shit that they have around him when he's doing his thing. I think that's what really got me into this film.
Okay.
But anyway, I digress. Your turn, sir.
So 1982 again. Like, oh my God, Creep Show.
Yeah.
1982. I always
Right.
figured it was later. Pieces.
Okay.
Have you ever seen Pieces?
I have.
Bastard! Bastard! It's a hilarious bad movie.
Yeah, it
Great
is.
effects. I had the guy that played Bluto
Oh,
in the Popeye movie with Robin Williams in it. He's
I
like the
did.
gardener.
Huh. I did not remember that.
We talked about Halloween 3, Poltergeist, Frank Henenlotter's Basket Case.
Oh yes. Yep.
But my number one, can you guess what it is?
mm. Let me run down my list real quick. I'm gonna go with Halloween 3.
No.
Then
The
no, I
Thing.
don't. The Thing
Mm-hmm.
that came out in '80. Oh my god. Okay. I. You know what? I got distracted when I saw New York Ripper on my list. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so again, The
Okay.
Thing in my top five horror movies of all time. So, yeah.
Yep.
1983.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Hold on. Okay, so 1983. Let me grab my little notepad here. We have my honorable mentions so that there's no confusion. You
Uh,
ready? Sleepaway Camp,
yep.
Cujo,
Yep.
Mausoleum,
Mm-hmm.
Psycho 2,
Yep.
and then my number one is The Twilight Zone.
Mm. Which is kind of horror.
It is.
It's
I
not
mean,
really like that. Like, I hated that fucking kick the can like part of it stuff. Like, oh,
Was
God,
that in Twilight Zone? Or I thought that was Amazing Stories.
no, that was in the Twilight Zone movie.
Okay, I liked that particular one, and the only reason I classified as horror is because the beginning and then the gremlin scene, the gremlin part of the movie, scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, and it had the boy that could wish for anything. I thought that
Yeah,
was
with that
quite
with that rabbit. Oh my god.
And obviously, the real horror of that movie is that John Landis got away with murdering three people, basically
Yes, that's
through
true.
negligence, not
Yeah,
not on
yep,
purpose. But
that's true.
anyway, um, okay, I had Psycho 2 down there, which almost like. I think it's better, or I enjoy it more than the original.
Right, and you've
Uh,
said that before.
Michael Mann's The Keep.
Okay, I haven't seen that
Michael,
one.
yeah, that one's a bizarre movie, which like takes like aspects of like Jewish mythology, like Gollum and World War. It's a World War II movie, and it's great acting, but it's bizarre. And I guess like the original cut or something was like 3 hours long.
Oh
And
wow.
cut it all down, and then it made like zero sense. Um, I also have Cujo, The Dead Zone.
Okay, that was a pretty good. I will say when that kid goes under the ice, that scared the crap out of me. Yeah, I can see that.
It's the part where the killer kills himself with the scissors in the bathtub. I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember
I don't.
that. What else? Sleepaway Camp.
Yep.
Cujo. Yeah. But my number one is another David Cronenberg movie, and I think it is his best. It's Videodrome.
Okay, that's fair. I've only seen the movie once. I've never really gotten that much into
Long live the new flesh.
it. Okay, so
Okay,
that takes us into 84 now.
right.
Okay,
I will. Do you want me to guess your number one?
no, you don't. You already know it. Go ahead. You might as well ruin it.
It is Nightmare on Elm Street.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. So my honorable mentions are going to be Gremlins, Firestarter, Chud, and Night of the Comet. For whatever reason, I always conflate the two when I remember them. When I remember scenes from the movie, I usually misquote the wrong movie. And then Children of the Corn.
So Nightmare on Elm Street is my pick for this year too. But we also have Ghostbusters. I mean,
That,
horror, not really horror, but
yeah, kind of okay, whatever.
Toxic Avenger.
Oh yeah, I never was a big fan of them.
Uh, yeah, you have to. It's
It's an acquired taste.
a Dreamscape.
Okay, yeah, that was a good one.
So again, I just want to. It's just interesting. Dreamscape and Nightmare on Elm Street came out in the same year
Yeah.
because they're kind of very closely aligned. Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yep.
The Terminator.
Oh yeah.
The Terminator really is like a slasher movie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was 1980.
Oh, and then we had The Initiation too. That was a TV movie. That was pretty good. Anyway, go on.
That is my honorable.
1984 list.
Yep.
85 was a little weak for me, if I'm being honest.
No, 85 was a strong year for me.
So my honorable mentions are going to be Cat's Eye,
Mm-hmm.
Friday the 13th: A New Beginning,
Mm-hmm.
Ghoulies, The Stuff,
Yep.
and in case Sarah didn't hear earlier, my favorite quote unquote gay themed horror movie was Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Mm-hmm.
But my number one pick for this year was Fright Night.
Right. A Tom Holland classic.
Yep.
So this was a very strong year for me. Reanimator,
Okay.
Day of the Dead,
Okay.
Fright Night, House,
Okay. Yeah.
Demons,
Yep.
and then ones you've already mentioned, Cat's Eyes and stuff.
Yep.
But my favorite, and again, it's funny because Day of the Dead released the same year. It's Return of the Living Dead,
Yep.
which I know you are watching as soon as possible. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's on my TBW list.
Yeah. Okay, 1996.
This was a rough year for me. There's a lot.
Mm.
There really is a lot for me. So, 86, we have my honorable mentions. Actually, I don't even think I picked a number one because I like so many of these movies. Um, so if I had to pick a number one, it's going to be The Fly.
Mm-hmm.
However, my honorable mentions: Night of the Creeps,
Yep.
Troll, Witchboard, The
Mm-hmm.
Wraith, Invaders from Mars,
Yeah.
The Hitcher, Friday the 13th, Jason Lives, Deadly Friend, April Fool's Day, and Critters.
Solid. Um, for my honorable mentions, Blue Velvet,
Never saw it.
fantastic, fantastic movie. Chopping Mall,
Mm-hmm.
From Beyond, which I think
Haven't,
is even better than Reanimator.
haven't seen it.
Maximum Overdrive, just for some coked up
Okay.
craziness.
Yeah.
Rawhead Rex,
Never saw it.
the Clive Barker movie to come
Yep.
out. But my number one is Aliens.
Hmm.
Didn't even get your honorable mention, right?
How did I miss that? Because I specifically looked that movie up. How did I miss it?
Put
Um,
that put down the crack pipe. Maybe.
no, no, it's the Malibu. It's the Malibu. I blame the Malibu. Okay, so fuck you and on to 1987.
Okay.
So again, another huge year for me. Honorable mentions: Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, Near Dark, The
Hmm.
Lost Boys, House 2, Ghoulies 2, Evil Dead 2, Dolls, Creepshow 2, The Believers. Did I? I think I missed The Gate. Did I say The Gate? Either way, The Gate. And number one, can you
Hmm.
pick? Can you guess my number one from that year?
Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
No,
Nah.
Hellraiser.
Yeah. Mhm. So I think this is the best year of horror.
Okay.
There's so many classic movies, whether they're sequels, whether
Yep.
they're brand new.
Yep.
I'm just going to read these out because
Yeah. Please. I mean, I agree with you. This I was torn between 86 and 87 personally.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3,
Yep.
which is the best in the series, I think. Um, John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness,
Yep.
totally underrated movie, which I absolutely love.
Agree.
You mentioned Stuart Gordon's Dolls,
Yep.
which I still think is the best killer doll movie ever made.
I don't disagree.
One of the best, so bad it's awesome movies, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, Up there with Aliens as
Yep.
far as action, horror, adventure type stuff.
Okay.
Obviously, the Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle, Predator.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck you.
I'm just not a. I'm not a Predator fan. It's not that I have anything against them, but I just never was a big fan of the series.
It is an absolutely iconic, fantastic movie. The Hidden
Don't know that one.
with Kyle MacLachlan in it.
Yeah. Don't know that one.
Hellraiser, obviously,
Yep.
as you mentioned. Have you ever seen a movie called Retribution?
I have. I do not know that one. No.
Fantastic supernatural horror.
Okay.
Bad Taste,
Yeah. And which again, not my cup of tea. I tried it.
but you like his other stuff. So,
Yeah.
Prom Night 2,
Hello, Mary Lou.
which I think is a lot of fun.
It
This
is.
this next one, I don't know. I think it got limited like release in DVD or something, but it needs
Yeah.
a good transfer. The Kindred,
Oh, don't know if I've seen that one or not.
a movie I don't really like, but it's iconic. The Lost Boys, which you
Yep.
mentioned. Monster Squad,
Yep.
Near Dark,
Yep.
one of the best vampire movies ever made.
Agreed.
Dario Argento's Opera,
Yeah.
Prison.
Not seen it.
Uh,
Vigo
that
Mortensen, really? Huh.
yeah, Prison, and that's the guy that directed Nightmare on Elm Street 4, very
Rennie
famous,
Harlan.
Randy Harland, and Stepfather. But I think probably the most, I had a hard time choosing my favorite from this list, but I
Okay.
just it's such the quintessential '80s horror movie, and that is Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm fine with that pick.
So yeah, for me, 1997 has got so many of my absolute favorite horror movies.
Yeah.
So that to me, it so a couple of the other years were difficult. This one was the most difficult.
Yeah, 80, like I said, 86 and 87 were the worst for me. They were the hardest for me to pick a favorite or a movie in general. So
Uh, okay, 1988.
1988, again, another great year.
Yep.
Um, so I'm just going to read you my honorable mentions first. Child's Play,
Yep.
The Blob,
Yep.
Elvira, Mistress of the Dark,
Mm-hmm.
Friday the 13th, 7,
What?
Fright Night 2, Hellraiser 2, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay.
So my number one pick is sort of a Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff
Mm.
with one of the stars from Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Yep. Yep. I know what you're talking about.
And it would be
Bad Dreams.
correct. Correct. Bad Dreams. I thought it was a fantastic movie. It was really well done. And Jennifer Rubin is a fantastic actress. I love her in everything I've seen her in.
Yeah.
And she's so nice. I met her at Spooky Empire, and I kid you not, we walked in on a Friday, and we walked into the autograph room, and she was one of the only celebrities that was there and set up. She walked over to us and started talking to us.
Oh, kind of needy.
It was pretty awesome because then we walked back to her table because I wanted to buy a picture, an autograph from her anyway. And she's like, "Okay, well, which picture do you want?" And she starts pointing out all of her scenes from Nightmare 3, and I'm like, "Look, I love Nightmare on Elm Street 3, but I need this picture of you before you blew up in Bad Dreams." She's like, "Oh yeah, they lit me really well in that movie."
Although that movie came out after A Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
It did, but I didn't say it was a Nightmare on Elm Street 3 ripoff. I said it was Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff.
No, you said before she blew up in
No,
Nightmare.
no, no, no. I mean, literally blew up in the film. Like she gets doused with gasoline and there's a big explosion. I don't mean like became famous.
I, I, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
We've talked about the Richard Lynch, right?
Mm.
The the bad guy in it.
We have, yes.
Yeah.
He had
Who?
a very bad experience with fire.
Yeah, he set himself on fire.
Yep.
Okay, very cool.
Yep. I
Um,
did not pick Child's Play, and I'm kicking myself for that now. Anyway, go ahead.
for your number one.
No, I mean I didn't put it even on my honorable mentions, and I love it.
Okay, so we talked about Killer Clowns from Outer Space, The Blob, which I think is much superior than the original. My favorite Frank Henenlotter movie, Brain Damage, came out in 1988.
Yep.
Phantasm 2, the most kind of Hollywood of all the Phantasm
Yep.
movies, which could have had Brad Pitt in it. um, the remake of Night of the Living Dead, with Tom Savini
Yep.
directed. William Lustig's Maniac Cop.
It was okay, but I probably would have. It would have been one of those nostalgia films for me if I had seen it back in the day. Now
Oh,
it's just okay.
it's a lot of fun. The Zach Galligan vehicle, Waxworks.
Yeah.
Dead Heat.
Okay.
Scarecrows.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Scarecrows, great low budget movie. Well worth checking out. Another John Carpenter classic, They Live.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Unnameable.
Oh, I've seen that once. I really don't know much about it.
The H.P. Lovecraft
Yep.
movie. Um, The Serpent and the Rainbow.
Oh God, yes.
Maybe one of Wes Craven's most interesting movies.
Damn it. There's two movies I missed that I'm pissed about now. Go ahead.
But my number one, and again, I think it's the best in the series, even though it's a sequel. It is Hellraiser 2.
Yeah, I do not disagree, but I have to talk about three of these movies that I missed.
Okay.
One, is a movie that I've only seen recently, and I think it's fantastic. It's over the top. It's ridiculous. Is Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bolorama?
Right, with Linnea Quigley.
Yes,
Yep.
it's a fantastic movie.
They
I
made a
did not.
sequel of that a number of years ago.
Did they?
Mm-hmm.
I did not talk about Pumpkinhead, which is another movie I
Oh,
love.
yeah, yeah.
And then hold on, where's the other one? Monkey Shines.
Right.
I,
George
it's
Romero.
it's a ridiculous movie, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, I have not seen that since it came out, so I would need to rewatch that, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're on to what I consider is, and maybe this is foretelling the future a little bit, probably the weakest year of the
Oh,
80s.
see, I disagree. There were a lot of movies for '89 that I enjoyed.
Yeah, I didn't have too many
Okay, so
compared compared to the rest of the rest of the decade. So
well, that's true. I don't have as many as I did for '86 and '87, but 976 Evil,
mm-hmm.
Cutting Class with Jill. I'm going to butcher her last name. Sholin. The Fly 2, which I thought was
No,
I still enjoyed it.
I cannot watch that movie.
I still liked it.
No, I feel so bad for that dog. That movie just makes me feel.
Oh,
sad.
I don't disagree. It's horrible, but I thought it was well done. Shocker, Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Heather Langenkamp plays a corpse in that movie. Puppet Master.
Mm-hmm.
And then my number one pick. Any guess?
I don't know.
It would be Warlock.
Ah.
Because I had a thing for Laurie Singer movies back then.
That is actually my number one pick too.
I liked her from when she was on the TV show Fame, which I was obsessed with as a kid. First Clue. And then I loved her in Footloose.
And talk about Julian Sands, unfortunate.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, that was my pick too. I think this is a wonderfully fun movie.
It is.
So you talked about Puppet Masters, Shocker. So I'll say, I'm not a big slasher fan, as you know.
Right.
So I kind of like some of the more quirky.
Mitch Pileggi played a great villain in Shocker.
Shocker kind of borders on cringe, like on rewatch. Mm-hmm. It's like it's Return of the Living Dead Part 2 syndrome. It's just like oof, like I'm enjoying this, but it's kind of like oh my god, like cringe. Yeah. So Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh, the weakest entry. One of the weakest entries.
Which it just gives me a big smile on my face because it's so goofy that I like it.
Yeah, I mean, to each his own. I mean, I still love the entire series, but that one in particular was probably the weakest one for me. I hold the least esteem for that one.
I think it's one of them. Like, like just even the premise. You're in a lake. How the fuck can you get out to the sea? It doesn't make any sense. Killing the girl with the guitar, the boxer on the rooftop.
Yeah, that was funny. We tried to box.
But I think there's some like a lot of it doesn't make any sense. But
it's no worse than when Coolio tried to kickbox with Michael Myers.
That wasn't Coolio.
Yes, it was.
No, it was Busta Rhymes.
Oh, Busta! You're right. Sorry, I apologize.
But imagine if they actually had the budget to do what they were going to do and actually shoot it in New York, right? Rather than having 10 minutes at the end. And there is some iconic scenes though with him walking in Times Square and kicking over the boombox and all this.
Yeah,
I just find it fun.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that point.
Leviathan.
Yep.
So that came,
that's Peter Weller, right?
Right. That was kind of like the post Abyss knockoffs. They had that Deep Star 6. What's the other one?
No, I'm thinking Virus with Jamie Lee Curtis. That was 98.
Right. No, that was well after.
Yeah.
The Burbs, I think, came out.
Did the remake come out then? I didn't remember that.
The Burbs?
Oh, Burbs. I thought you were saying the Birds.
Not the Birds.
The Burbs. Yeah, yeah.
You burb brain.
I know. Burb brain.
The Church.
No, never seen it.
It's Michelle Savari, I think, Italian horror movie written by Argento's. Very interesting. What else do I have? Oh, and in fact, Deep Star 6 did come out the same year as Leviathan, so it's just funny.
Okay,
Yeah, Warlock is my number one pick.
that's fair.
So that is the 1980s. I'm glad you enjoyed that.
I did. I did. 86 and 87 were definitely the worst for me to try and pick movies.
Right.
100%. So, I guess we're going to do our what we watched now? Or do
Yeah.
you have something else you want to talk about?
No.
Okay. So, I don't really have much as far as what I watched. I did watch the finale of The Last of Us,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that was really well done. It was a fitting end to the season, I think. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but it was well done. I thought
Well, I mean, the
it,
spoilers.
it really cemented the bond between Joe and Ellie, I think.
Do you think what he did? Do you think it was right or wrong?
I think in that situation, I probably would have done something very similar in that world.
So wrong.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I agree with his decision because I don't think they should have tried. See, that's one of those the train track the people on the train track. Who do you hit? It's one of the moral quandaries, and I probably would have been a lot. I feel like I would have made the same choices Joe made. I probably would not have been as successful as he was
No.
because
No.
I'm not that good. But
You would have died the first day of the
yeah, probably.
outbreak.
Yeah. Well, that and I'm not running,
Yeah.
obviously.
just kill me.
Yeah. Let's just get this over with, please. So we already talked about. I did finish.
Sorry. Before, so Last of Us,
Yeah.
a first season.
Yes.
What are your just overall general thoughts for the season itself?
I think it struggled for the first half of this season. And I don't know if it struggled because I had to get used to their storytelling style or if it was just all over the place. But I think that Joe and Ellie, they took way too long to get to them bonding.
And you've never played the game, right?
No, I have not. No. I mean, I played like 10 minutes of it. I have it here on my PlayStation, but I played like 10 minutes of it.
So you've never played it.
No, as soon as I got to the point where Joe's daughter gets shot.
Joel.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just the intro.
Yeah, exactly. That's about as far as I got. And then I got annoyed and I stopped.
You got annoyed? What?
I got annoyed because the scene. So I picked up Ellie and we had to sneak. We were trying to sneak her out of town. And there's a part of the game where you have to sneak around these guys.
Yeah.
And you have to pick up a brick and throw it, and then time your run going through. And I just couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through the cars, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm done."
You don't like the sneaking around aspect.
Yeah, I'm just no good at it. I'm a bull in a china shop.
Right,
And
you just want to shoot everybody, and you don't want to have any stealthy sections.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like my looking at. I think it's an excellent series overall. I think they rushed to the end in the last couple of episodes because they took a couple episodes to, I think the third episode with what's his name from The Office or whatever.
Nick Offerman.
Right, and then the other one where it was kind of like. Ellie's flashback, and I know, it's saying, you're building characters and da da da.
Right.
I just thought that those episodes slowed it down a little bit. Obviously, that's their intention, but then I thought they had to rush the finale.
Yeah.
So I would have enjoyed more clickers.
Yep.
This is, it's Walking Dead syndrome to a certain degree, and the game's a bit more balanced where you're fighting humans and fighting clickers and there's more of a balance. I thought the season was more just the Walking Dead human interactions humans, against other humans, and like. But overall, it's very good, and I just can't wait for season 2 if they follow The Last of Us Part 2, just so everybody gets so upset. Because that game was divisive as fuck.
Right.
Okay,
There,
sorry.
I found out something. Hold on. Oh, so you know the scene. Melanie Linsky's character where they're hunting the kid, the
Yeah,
father and his son.
I thought she was great, by the way.
She was fantastic. I really like that actress, but I did not know who her husband was.
Mm.
Her husband is Jason Ritter.
Oh, hmm.
I had no
Interesting.
idea, and he was one of the clickers.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was a neat piece of trivia. So then I have my two audiobooks. We already talked about The Missing Boatman, which, like I said, overall the story was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's just what the whole first. You can go back and listen to the whole first half of this podcast to understand the problems I had with it. Um, and then I started a new audiobook called Blitz, which is the third in the Rook series by Dan O'Malley, and I am so excited for this book. So the Rook,
Urban fantasy.
what's that?
Urban fantasy.
Kind of, but more of a sci-fi paranormal twist. So it's essentially it takes place. There's this secret organization of paranormals that have all these weird powers, or one lady's got mother of pearl for her palms, and she can control light with it, and but it's this organization called the Cheque, Cheque, and they essentially stave off
Hang on, I
these
spell that again.
C8. I think it's Queuey or something like that. Let me get the
Okay,
name.
I was going to say that's just the word check.
Yeah, I know. Shut up. Hold on.
for
Let
for
me.
us for us British folk, that's how you spell check.
Yeah.
Like a check you write at.
So it's the Cheque file. Checquy.
Okay,
So
check.
anyway, yeah. So it's a paranormal sci-fi type series, and it's done really well. Like the first book is called Rook, and it's about this woman named Miffany. I
Miffin
never. It's Miffinwy.
Miffinwy.
Yes, Mifanwy.
I hate.
I don't know. Whatever.
Uh,
It's an Irish name, I believe. And I'm probably butchering it like I do every name. But
I've
she essentially is a quote unquote civilian that works for this organization, which is why she attains the title of Rook, because that in their hierarchy it has to be a human. But through an attack on her life one day, she awakens her own powers, and it's just her struggle to come to terms with that. The second book is called Stiletto, which again is the same thing, except it's a different character. But the same characters, obviously it's the same organization, so you have a lot of the same characters circulating in orbit of the new character. And then this one, it has two stories. It has a mother who has started a fire in her house because she can apparently control electricity, and it just awakened one day. But then they also have a lot of flashbacks to World War One, where this organization gets involved with fighting Hitler. Or that was actually
what?
World War. Yeah,
What?
that World
World
War
War
Two.
One fighting
Yeah,
Hitler.
World War Two. I know. I said, as soon as I said it, I knew. But
Well, I guess
anyway,
Hitler was in World War One, so that would have been interesting.
yeah, I know. But am I fucking up my history, Mark? You're the history major. You love history. We fought Hitler in World War Two, correct?
Yes, but Hitler was also a soldier in World
Mm-hmm.
War One.
Yeah, it's not about that. It's about World War Two.
Yes, Hitler was.
We're specifically fighting Hitler. But
It
it's
sounds very woke to me, Jim.
oh, shut up, you dick. But I'm really excited about it, and I just started it, so I'm not that far. I'm only like an hour or two into the audiobook, and it's 25 hours,
Okay.
so I'm looking forward to that. But that's all I got.
So we talked about The Last of Us. I did a rewatch with my wife because we were trying to figure out what to watch, and I'm like, she wanted to watch something along the lines of Ready or Not, something
Right.
like that. So I'm like, okay, I watched this movie a while ago, and I thought it was pretty good, called Furies.
Furies. I don't know that one.
So this is a movie where it starts out where it's a couple of friends, um, women, who may or may not have something, that is very subtle if they're like into each other or not. But
Right.
that's got nothing to do with anything. It's just the way it kind of is portrayed. Who get kidnapped at the start of the movie,
Okay.
and then our lead character wakes up in a box.
Is this an Australian film?
Yes,
Okay. I've not watched it yet, but I keep passing it by.
yes. So she wakes up in a box in the middle of the woods,
Okay.
and she breaks out of the box, and then there's other women who are there.
Oh no, I did watch this movie.
Right, and then there's like masked killers after them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the twist is, well, it's not a big twist, so it's not a big spoiler. They they have come from their own boxes, which are the women's ones are marked like Beauty 6, and the killers come out of boxes called Beast.
Right.
So we have one of the killers has a beauty who they're trying to protect,
Right.
but they're also out to kill the other women.
Right.
I great effects in it. I think it's just a fun movie. It's a lower budget movie.
Yeah,
But
I don't disagree. I thought I now that you as you were describing it, I realized I had seen this movie because
Mhm.
I remembered it, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Yep. Although there's like it's weird. There's a couple of just like sections in the movie
Yep.
where the acting is just really bad. And like it's like I don't like what happened in those sections of the movie. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe they shot them first and they got better. I don't know. I went to the movies
Oh.
and I watched the Pud Rudd vehicle,
Quantum Mania.
Quantum Mania. So I saw very middling reviews about this before I went to see it. People were saying, it's not that good. And, after the last Thor, which I didn't think was very good, I'm like, well, maybe they're starting to lose a bit of steam with
Right.
these Marvel movies. But I thought this was on par with the other two Ant-Man movies.
Those are the Ant-Man movies are fun. They're fun, stupid movies. Like I don't take them very seriously, but they're fun movies to watch.
And, this is Jonathan Majors back as Kang
Okay.
from the Loki series.
Yep.
And, he when he's on screen, he kind of steals the show.
Yeah.
I think
Agreed.
he's a very interesting actor.
Yep.
And I think the way that he portrays Kang is going to be extremely interesting because there's multiple Kangs, right?
Right.
Lots of Kangs, and they're all a little different.
Yep.
But I thought this was good.
Yep.
I think again, people are spoiled, especially with comic book movies, especially growing up in the '80s. What we got then compared to
Right.
what we get now, and it's almost like, oh well, it's almost like it's just complacency. It's like, oh, well, it's just another big budget,
Yeah.
Marvel movie or whatever. I'm like, blah 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 blah. Like, but you're spoiled because we've had so many great movies that it's just you think it's another one in the roster, and it's just like unless it blows your mind,
Right.
it's like pretty bad. Like,
Yep.
okay, I disagree. I'm also looking forward to which the whole Ezra Miller thing like just annoys me. Like the new Flash movie
Yep.
is doing Flashpoint, which is one of the best DC comic book series. And it looks great, but we'll see if the the DCEU will get there to where Marvel is. It's been so like scattershot up until now.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
the new Shazam is out. I
yep,
probably won't see it in the movie theater, but I thought Shazam, the first one, was one of the best of the
yep.
DCEU. I thought it was a
I
lot of
really like Zachary Levi.
yeah. I thought it was fun. Had a lot of heart.
Yep.
So we'll see how that goes. But
I'm curious to see what winds up happening because I did hear a spoiler about the post credit scene in Shazam: Fury of the Gods
hmm.
that is now apparently mixed. They had a cameo by Henry Cavill as Superman.
Well, no, they had that at the end of Black Adam.
Oh, was it Black Adam? I apologize. I
Yeah,
knew it was one of the flying superheroes, but I mean, where's that going to go now?
and I thought Black Adam was good. People hated that movie. Like, good for a DC EU movie.
I don't have I don't have an opinion on that one way or the other. I've not watched it.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. The Rock just going around killing a bunch of people is always fun.
Yeah,
I mean, there's certain things about it which are like, oh god, no. But overall, I thought it was good. But yeah, Flashpoint, if they do that right, obviously with Michael Keaton back, I wouldn't be surprised to see Christian Bale in it.
right. Well, I heard
But
rumors that Ben Affleck might be in it too.
no, Ben Affleck is in it,
Oh, is he okay?
right? So I, it's weird because it's almost like the DCU, although they've written stuff maybe around or before when Marvel done it.
Yep.
When you're getting to the cinematic side of it,
Yep.
this very much feels like the Spider-Man movie, right? So we get with Andrew Garfield back and whatever, and now we have this DC movie with older Batman coming back and stuff. So I don't know. It's I I I'll still watch it.
Yeah,
Wherever.
I won't.
Yeah, it is
But
what it is.
anyway, it is. It is what it is. And I'm not a big superhero fan, so unless they go the way of like The Boys or Brightburn,
Have you watched Watchmen?
I tried, just couldn't get into it.
It's a long movie. It's a great movie, though, I think.
Yeah, Ray loves it too. So
And it's the darker side.
yeah.
Okay, that is all I have.
Okay, so we have a couple questions.
Hmm.
I already answered Sarah Miley Cooper's my favorite '80s movie featuring featuring gay characters and why. And again, I can't think of a single gay character out of an '80s horror movie off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure I could do some research and find insinuations of one, but Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, obviously, extremely homoerotic is probably my favorite movie from the '80s that has gay themes in it. But
I I am halfway through a movie which has got gay overtones in it.
which one is that?
I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's on. I think it's on
Is it
Shutter.
Hypochondriac?
No, it's like a Antichrist
Oh,
Omen inspired.
you have to
Uh,
give me the name of that.
God. Do, 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 do. Fear No Evil.
Have not seen that one. I'll have to look that up.
Yes, look that up. So
So
far, it's pretty good.
our friend Jeff has a question. You
Mm-hmm.
ready?
Yep.
He says, in his opinion, Phenomena is
Mm-hmm.
overrated. It doesn't go there for him. He loves
Right.
Jennifer Connelly, but he thinks it tiptoed around her, perhaps because of her age, and that weakened the movie. What do you think?
Phenomena.
Yeah.
Phenomena.
No, no, no.
Phenomena.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is another Argento movie with Donald Pleasance in it too, and this is
Yep.
one of the more bizarre ones.
It
And
was so boring.
the what?
It was just plain boring.
Phenomena.
Yeah.
I like it. I don't think it's one of his best. I probably the thing that I like the most about it is how bizarre it is.
Yeah.
There is some of his kind of almost trademarked interesting death scenes.
Yeah.
People, but I just think the overall concept is kind of so out there.
Yeah.
it makes it better than maybe it should be
Maybe.
because it's just bizarre. I kind of like that bizarreness.
Yeah, I tried several times to get through the movie. I still have not made it all the way through.
Oh yeah, killer monkeys and people controlling insects,
Yeah.
and it's and it is weird seeing Jennifer Connelly back then. Thinking who she would become,
Yeah.
starring in this, Italian.
And believe that was her first starring
Weird.
role.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
So
but yes, I like Phenomena. I don't think it's the best ever, but I think it's interesting enough for a watch.
okay. Is that all you got, Mark?
Yep.
Okay. Well, folks, if you made it this far, I just want to say thank you for listening. And we will talk to you next time.
Oh, listen to that spooky music. Ooh.